Why, Panata?
Okay, let's start. Good morning, students. Welcome back to a new day and new stuff to learn. This morning we will start off with science. We'll start off with some science. Important for science is we have to read and listen so carefully because it's a lot of things that have big words and we need to make sure we don't get confused or lost. So in science, we are currently busy with life and the environment around us, with all the different aspects and all the different types of things we have looked at. Today we'll look at some relationships in some environments. And then next week, we will do a little bit of revision so we can actually write a test. So last time we also had a look again at our food chain, and I asked you guys to make a food web for me. And if you look at our food chain, just to quickly go through it again, I'm going through it again and again to make sure some of it we can remember. So our first one is our producer, the producer. That is usually our grass or our trees. Then we have something that eat the producer. That is our primary consumer. Primary consumer is the first one to eat from the plant. And then for this example, they had a grasshopper. And then the second one that eats the grasshopper is the secondary consumer. The secondary consumer, number 2. And then after that, we have the tertiary consumer. That is number 3. And then we have the top of the food chain, which is our apex predators. They are the apex predators. Don't have a lot of natural enemies. And last but not least, we have our decomposers, which is our fungi or our bacteria or microorganisms that break down the apex predator when it dies. But they don't only break down the apex predator. If the locust or the grasshopper dies, they will break that down. If the frog dies, it will break that down. And so for the snake as well. So anything that dies, the decomposers make sure to decompose it. And that provide fertilizer for the soil so that we can grow beautiful producers. So we can grow beautiful producers. So that was what we have been busy with for now. We also then had a look at just a food chain and a food web. What is the differences between a food chain and a food web? Do I have the correct? Yeah. The food web is where 2 or more eat from the same flow in the chain. So we have a producer here, which is grass. And 2 animals eat the grass. We have the grasshopper and the rabbit. So there's more than one. Then it doesn't become, then it's not a chain anymore. It becomes a food web. A food web. A more intricate way, almost like a spider web with different animals and different insects and different plants all over the place. And so that's what we did last time. And we also looked at the relationship between living things in an ecosystem. Now here I want us to practice these 5 words again because they are quite high level words. And the more we practice, the better our chances of remembering them. So the first one is proto-cooperation. Proto-cooperation is the coexistence of 2 different species. Both receive mutual benefit. So it is where two species live in the same area and both help each other. This is very simple example for bees and flowers. Bees grab the pollen because they want to make honey. So they grab the pollen to make honey, and when they sit on another flower, some of the pollen falls off, and that flower is fertilized and it can produce seeds. So the flower needs the bee to help it with sexual reproduction, and the bee needs the flower for a food source. So they both help each other to create a good environment. That is proto-cooperation. We'll practice the words after I've done all 5. The next one is mutualism. Mutualism is when two different species each depend on one another for survival. They cannot live independently. So this one is, for example, lichens, fungi, and algae. They need each other. They feed off each other to live. Other example is like seaweed. This one we don't commonly find usually it's usually in the ocean. You find this one a lot more in the ocean. But you can also find it with the decomposers, also taking care of each other. Now the next one, commensalism. Commensalism is the coexistence of two different species, yes, like the normal ones, in which one receives a benefit and the other not. So this is for a fern and a tree. For example, you can plant one tree inside of the other, but only one will benefit. The other one will not benefit. So this is also when it comes to sharks and shark suckers. The shark is doing all the work, catching the fish to eat, and the sucker is sitting at the bottom of the shark, sucking to it so it can't get off. And everything the shark eats, the small pieces that come, the sucker eats that. So the sucker just stays there and just eats. It doesn't have to do anything. So this is commensalism. And then we have predation. This is where we have two different species. One predates upon the other, its prey. So here we will have anything that eats anything else. So for example, you can have a frog eating a grasshopper. Now the frog is the predator and the insect or grasshopper is the prey. So when you have a predator and a prey, the word we use is predation. So that it can also be seen maybe when a lion or a tiger eats a gazelle or eats a different antelope. That's also the same, predation. Can also be when a dolphin attacks fish and eats fish, or a shark that eats a seal is the same, predation. You have a predator, the one that wants to kill, and you have the prey, the one that's going to be eaten. And the last one we have is parasitism. Parasitism is a coexistence of different species. Which one is living off the other? So parasite, we get a parasites, and parasites are very bad in a sense. Like if you look at South America, in South America, you get the botfly, B-O-T, the botfly. Now the botfly will come lay eggs on top of your hand or your arm. And when those larvae hatch, those flies will eat your skin and crawl inside your skin. And they become big and big and big. And later on, you have to have a surgery to remove the fly because it's living inside you. You can even see it moving inside you. So that is a parasite living inside you. And that is called parasitism. When a parasite lives off another living thing. The same with ticks. If you have a dog at home, you might have to give it some special shampoo for ticks or medicine for ticks or lice so that they don't stay on the animal and hurt it or suck its blood or eat from it. Okay, that's the 5 ones. Now let's quickly practice them all together. All together. Let's practice how to pronounce these words. Very important. The first one, proto-cooperation. Proto-cooperation. Everyone together. Let's see. Let's hear you say it. Let me hear. You have to say it back to me. Proto-cooperation. Come on, we have to practice these words.
Student, are you here?
Practice.
Yes.
Say together.
Photo cooperation.
Good, Leon. Good, Leon. Anyone else? Proto-cooperation.
Photo cooperation.
Yes, very good, Jasmine. Proto-cooperation. The next one is mutualism. Mutualism.
Mutualism.
Very good. If you say it faster, it's mutualism. But we break it up to make it easier. Mutualism. The next one, commensalism. Commensalism.
Commensalism.
Yes, very good. Well done. Very good pronunciation there. I like it. I like it. The next one, predation.
Predation.
Very good. Very good. That sounds also very good. And the last one, parasitism.
Parasitism.
Parasitism. Yes. Excellent. Well done. So that is our 5 relationships between living things in their ecosystem. So if we move forward and do something, I think it's one more slide from last week. Yes, this one. And then we move to new work. So let's quickly just go through again the relationship between the living things and the environment. So what are the different types? Let's first look at plants and the environment. Plants are living organisms. They need food, they need respiration, excretion, growth, and reproduction. So, a lot of words here. Food, we all know what food is. Food is something that we eat. Respiration, do we know what respiration is? What do you do every day that you do not even think about? That's a good question. I'll give you a hint. You are doing it now. You don't even think about it. Your body just does it automatically. Respiration is to do with breathing air, oxygen. That's respiration. That's what we call respiration, is the process of breathing oxygen or getting oxygen. That's respiration. Usually, if you look at COVID in today's life, they say if you have COVID, you have a lot of respiration difficulties. Respiration difficulties. Why? Because you struggle to breathe when you have COVID. So that's why they say, be careful of respiration difficulties. If you struggle with respiration or breathing, see a doctor. What is excretion? Another big word that can be simplified. Excretion. It's getting rid of waste products. For humans, we do that by going to the bathroom. We excrete our bad toxic waste in our body by going to the bathroom. And the other two here is growth. We all know what growth is we all grow also every day. I myself, I don't get taller anymore. I just get wider from eating too much food. But I'm still growing, even if it's only becoming more fat. It's also fine. Last one, reproduction. Reproduction. Now we looked at plants. We looked at asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. I will do a revision on it, on these topics again before we write test. And they respond to a stimuli. Stimuli is something that also known as a stimulus. For example, if you take a needle and you prick your finger, it will hurt. Now that is an external stimulus on you. Or if you stand in the sun, your skin will become more brown. Or you'll be very hot and start sweating. That is your body that responds to a stimuli. And they are also similar for humans and animals. All of this stuff that we find in plants, we can also find them in humans and animals. So we'll have to look at what is the most important parts of our environment. What creates the environment? Essential features, important parts means the same thing. One thing about science is they like to use very big words, but there is already easier words to explain them. So essential features, just meaning important parts. So here we have soil, we have water, air, and light. Do you think we can live if we have none of these? If there's no soil, no water, no air or light, do you think we can live then? Is it possible for us to live without water, without air, or without light or soil? No, it is not possible. Because if there's no light, there's no photosynthesis for the plants. If there's no photosynthesis for the plants, plants cannot grow. If the plants cannot grow, what will our primary consumers eat? What will they eat if they have no plants to eat? Nothing. If there's no primary consumer, there's no secondary consumer. If there's no secondary consumer, no tertiary consumer. No tertiary consumer, no apex predator. So it's impossible for a world to have no light. For the world to have no light. The same for soil. Without soil, plants cannot grow. And how will we have food if we don't have a producer? So we start with the soil on top here and say the plant's habitat is in the soil, which it uses for physical support and for nutrients via its roots to grow. Water. What happens if you don't drink water all day? You are thirsty. Your mouth is dry. You feel dehydrated. I think the human body can only go without water for about 4 days. That's maximum. 4 days. If you don't drink water in 4 days, you die. So without water, there's no life. Without air, plants need oxygen for respiration. And they need carbon dioxide to make food. Without air, we also die. We cannot breathe. No air. So these four things, they have to be on our planet for us to live. And they are here. If they were not on this planet, we would not be here. So when the planet was created, it was created in a very smart way, so that it can have life on it. Can have life on it. What's the next one? Looking at a plant structure. So what does plant structure mean? It means different plants look different because of their environment. So in the desert, you might have more succulent plants. And in the rainforest, you might have larger trees, a lot more green plants around you. So let's look at our plant structure. The structure of a plant is an adaptation to its living conditions. For example, a cactus living in the desert may go for long periods without water. Why? Because it stores water in its leaves. It can save some water. It uses its leaves as a water bottle to save water for when it is thirsty. One animal that also does this very well is a camel. A camel also saves water in its hump at the back to drink when it becomes thirsty. So here, cactus living, so it can go of long periods without water. Cactus leaves have evolved into thorns to reduce water loss. So cactus don't have leaves. They just have a succulent part on the inside. Where the leaves were, it changed to thorns to reduce water loss. Water loss by transpiration. Transpiration is the process of sweating for humans. Where transpiration is when it gets hot, water evaporates up into the sky. That's also how clouds are formed. And the trunk of the cactus is plump, allowing it to store large amounts of water. So the cactus can live for a long time without water because it stores the water. The seeds of the plant are evolved to suit the environment and method of reproduction. Some have very light seeds and that they can be carried large distances by wind. So that is plants, a plant structure. Let's look at the next one, which is animals and their environment. So no matter where we live, no matter what place in the world we are, if we're in the most beautiful forest in the world or in the most driest desert that you can find, there's always living things. Why? Because the stuff that lived there started to realize we have to change our whole genetics to be able to survive in these environments. Survive in these environments. So animals differ from plants in that they cannot make their own food. So plants use photosynthesis to make food. Now animals cannot make their own food. We have to eat food. So some animals eat plants, herbivore. Some eat animals or meat, is carnivore. Some eat meat and plants, like us. We are omnivores. Okay, so but animals need certain things to live and grow, just as plants. Yes, we also need some things to live and to grow. Oh, clear. Let's look at the essential resources for animals to live. Food, water, air. Very straightforward. Without these three, no life for animals or humans. Air, food, water, and air. So for food, all animals need food to grow and survive. 2, water. Water is very important for animals. They need it to live. Animals get water from the environment, either by eating some plants that contain a lot of juices or by drinking water from ponds or dams or lakes, wherever they can find it. And air, a most important one. All animals need oxygen, which is a component of the air we breathe. Animals on land take oxygen from the air. Animals that live underwater, for example, dolphins, come to the surface to breathe air, while fish uses their gills to take oxygen that is dissolved in water. So even underneath the ocean, we have air. It's just been dissolved into the water. So it's a compound of that ocean water or normal water. I also have some fish that I bought the other day. They're also growing and having lots of babies. And we have to put plants also inside the water, because the plants which are made for the water, specific plant, produce the oxygen that dissolves in the water that the fish can breathe. You can't just put fish in a bowl with nothing. They will not make it. Maybe if they can get a little bit of oxygen from the surface, yes, but they will not have a happy life. So animals' adaptation to the environment. The bodies of animals are adapted to suit their habitat. For example, polar bears have a very thick skin and a lot of thick hair to cover their body, to keep them warm, because they live in the coldest areas in the world. So they have very thick hair and have plenty of layers of fat beneath their skin, so they can live in very cold surroundings. Giraffes, for example, so we have a couple of examples. We have the polar bear. Wait, let me make it. We have polar bear here. We have the giraffe. Have very long necks to allow them to reach leaves high in the trees to find the best leaves for them to eat. The bodies of leaf insects are shaped and colored like a leaf. So we get leaf insects, the one here. I've seen similar insects in Thailand before. Are shaped and colored like the leaves they live among. This allows them to hide from predators and also helps them to get close to their prey. So if you want to eat something, it's best to be camouflaged or to hide in plain sight. So a lot of animals have certain methods of hiding themselves or camouflaging themselves. Oh, look at this picture here at the bottom. This is a picture. Does anyone know where this picture is taken? In which continent? Which continent is this picture taken? Let me write it for you. This comes from Africa. This is a picture of Africa. If I look at it, it looks like the Serengeti in Kenya. But it could be any place in Africa. If you guys visit South Africa, where I am from, the chances of seeing this is 100%. If you go to South Africa to see this type of picture with these animals, the zebras, giraffes, and also a lot of different animals, is 100%. So every time, that's why people love to visit South Africa, is to see all the beautiful animals. Okay, our last slide for the day, the last slide for science class. Let's quickly go through here. A natural resource. What is our local natural resources? Well, natural resources, for example, we have water as natural resource, definitely. We have plants that grow naturally as a natural resource. Air is a natural resource that we take for granted sometimes. But there's a lot of different natural resources, like gemstones or different types of pearls in the ocean. So there's a lot of different natural resources we can find. So a natural resource is anything that comes from nature that humans can use for different purposes. The natural resources such as water, soil, and forest are essential to all living things. We need to conserve and develop these resources so that our use remains sustainable. What does sustainable mean? That we can use it again in the future. But what is currently happening? I think we'll stop here. Stop here. So we go on with 3.2.1 tomorrow. What is currently happening in the world is we are not taking care of the natural resources. If you look at oil, which they use to make gas for our car and our motorbikes, oil is running low in the world, and they are trying to find more oil so that they can have more gas, so people can drive their cars and their motorcycles without having to do it like the Tesla, an electric car. The reason why this is a problem is when we go find oil, we destroy everything in that area that lived there. We destroy it. And then we might not find oil. Then we have destroyed a big part of a country just to go find oil and not find any oil. And in that process, we kill the homes of animals and insects and plants. And what's going to happen in the future? We won't have these beautiful things to look at because we are destroying them. So what we can do, each person can do, is try and help the environment. Try and help the environment. Do not throw your plastic bottles on the floor, or do not litter any plastic. The big problem, which is improving a little bit in Thailand, is plastic. Plastic is a very big problem because plastic destroys the environment because it never goes away. For you guys, which are maybe now 10, 11, 12 years old, if you had a plastic bottle like this when you were born and you throw it in the bin, this plastic bottle is still there after 13 years somewhere in the world. Might be in the ocean. A fish might eat it and die. So it is very bad if we litter and don't take the necessary care. But we will talk about how to take care and the conservation next week. So we can make sure that we understand how we can actually help the environment. I love the environment because I have to live here. This planet Earth, we live on this place. And if you want your family and your kids and everyone to have a happy life and to have a place to stay and oxygen to breathe, it's a good thing for us to take care of it. Okay. So that's everything but we are going to talk about for today in science. If you want to play rock, paper, scissors, please turn on your cameras now. So we can play one now, and we play one again at the end of the day. Let's see who will beat me today. I think Leon said yesterday he beat me for the first time. I know Pooh beats me a lot, but I think Pooh is cheating sometime. Maybe. Let's see. Where is he? Is he even here today? Yeah. No, he's not. Yes. Okay, are we ready?
Wait a minute. I think background. Okay.
Okay. First, shake your hand to make sure that you cannot get the same answer as me, so I can win. Very good. Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
1,
Teacher,
2, 3, shoot.
I win again.
Only John Paul win today. Yay! Congratulations, John Paul. Well done. Good job. Okay, you can have 20-minute break before we do occupation. So have something to eat, drink some water, take a small rest. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.